Hey there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation magazine. This is what it used to look like. We're digital now, but this was actually the last issue I printed in August of 2021. Uh, this was the biggest facility White Castle had ever built, and Mike Guinan, Vice President of Operations Services, and we were ecstatic that we got the scoop on this. And this was a great looking issue. Let's see how big it was. This was 148 pages, and let's see what I was doing. Oh, I was in the Graceland. I was doing a site visit. We did a retreat there in Memphis. And if you haven't been in Graceland in a while, it's not just a little house and a souvenir shop. They've built a whole amphitheater, and they got about 5 or 6 buildings of Elvis's costumes, his cars. I mean, you can spend days out there and not see everything. But anyway, it's always nice picking the magazine up. But I don't miss the printer. I don't miss the post office. And it's been an amazing ride on the web. And thank you to everybody out there. Last month we had 4.6 million, I think, hit interactions. And we'll go over 40 million for the year. So everybody out there on the web that finds us, thank you so much. We couldn't have been there without you. Happy Halloween to everybody. Hopefully you have nice weather. It's a little overcast here, but in the upper 70s, they say, maybe low 80s here in the ATL. And hopefully you have your candy ready and all that. Halloween down here is a big gig. Everybody gets out of the office early, and traffic is just a nightmare in the afternoon. Well, it's a nightmare every day, but Halloween, it's just you got to get out because 5:30 it starts. It goes to about 8:30, and then you can turn your lights off and eat the rest of the candy, whatever you didn't give out. So, in any event, I've got a special gentleman. He's up in Columbus, Ohio. His name is Paul Francis, and he's the president of Pepper Constructions Ohio. Uh, Paul, say hello to our listeners out there in Commercial Construction Coffee Talk.
Hi, everybody. Glad to be here this morning. Thanks for having me, David.
Absolutely. And before we started our recording, I had met Pepper Construction, a gentleman named Rich Tillman, and right when I launched my magazine back in 2001, and I was on a foursome with him in a golf tournament at a conference the ICSC does called Center Build, and anyway, we were on there, and I had knocked my ball closest to the pin. And I had to go out about 150 yards, about in front of about 2,000 people, and see if I could hit my ball in the green. The other two guys shanked their balls, but I got mine on there. So
You got yours on. Good job.
yeah, I got mine, and I have it framed someplace here, in my repertoire. But very
Nice.
familiar with Pepper, heavy hitter in the construction industry. And when I got the publicist reached out to me, I was like, oh yeah, man, we got a Pepper on here. So know the name very well. So
Great. No,
Paul, the
thanks
way
for
that
having
we're,
me.
first of all, say hello to our listeners out there. If I didn't say that,
Yep. Hi, everybody. I'm Paul
yeah,
Francis. Nice to meet
welcome.
you all.
So the way we're going to do it, we're going to do this in 3 parts. You'll tell your story, where you grew up, where you went to school, and how you ended up at Pepper today. Then we'll talk about the last 4 years or so of lessons learned, that with the roller coaster that we've all been on, and any cool projects that you're working on, or any trends that you see coming down the pike, into 2025. And then you'll leave one positive thought in your contact info, and then we'll wrap it up. So with that said, the floor is yours. Tell us your story.
Great. Well, thanks again for having me, David. Look forward
Absolutely. We're honored.
to telling the story. So I grew up on a farm, small town in Northeast Iowa, Winthrop, Iowa, very, very small town, population 750. So,
Woohoo!
but this is where where I learned my work ethic and my family values. So I give a lot of credit to my parents. I was number 7 of 8 kids in my family, so I had lots of brothers and sisters, big family, and just we had worked hard on the farm, played hard, and just enjoyed family time together. So I couldn't be more proud of how I was brought up, and the values that my parents instilled in me. And so on the farm, you just, when there was something to be built or you needed to add on to the barn, you needed to add on to the hog shed, you did it yourself. So
Yeah.
did the addition to the house. I worked with my dad a lot growing up. I have an older brother that still runs a framing business in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, residential framing. So it was around construction a lot, and always enjoyed that part. But I'll never forget the time that I really was convinced the career I wanted to get into. I was a senior in high school, and my oldest brother took me and one of my friends to Minneapolis for the weekend to watch the football game. I was actually an Iowa Hawkeye fan there, but I went to Iowa State, so we don't like the Hawkeyes anymore.
Yeah, I know the rivalry, man. I get it.
We went up there for the weekend to visit my cousin in Minneapolis, stayed with him, went to the football game. But on Sunday, he took us to the job site he was working on. So he was the project manager for Kraus Anderson at the time. He's since retired. And he was building a big horse racing track and casino there. This had been back in the, I guess in the like 1981, 82. And he was walking us around the job and the trailer. And I was like, man, this is what I want to do. And so I said, how do I get this job? He said, well, you've got to go to Iowa State and be a construction engineer. So I was a senior in high school when we made that trip, and we were pretty much going to go to Iowa State because I knew I wanted to be in engineering, but I didn't know what type of engineering. So that's what I did. I went to Iowa State, and that's how I found Pepper, because Pepper recruits heavily at both Purdue and Iowa State, kind of two big Midwest construction schools. Mm-hmm. So my junior year in college was when Pepper came to career fair. I got offered a summer internship, and I started there in summer of 1991 and had an offer for full-time employment before I went back for my last semester, and the rest is history. So I've been with the company, it could be 33 years this coming January. Started in the Chicago office downtown, did about 7 or 8 years in the interiors division, and a lot of small downtown interiors work, but learned a ton about our processes and our systems, made a lot of contacts, really built my partnerships and the architects, and built my client base then. And figured out pretty early in my career that, the projects are cool, but I really enjoyed the people. That was the part of the business that I enjoyed the most, working with the trade partners, coordinating the work, getting to know the clients and the design team, solving problems together, collaboration. So it was probably about 8 years into my career when I got the opportunity to start to lead a team and take on client accounts and build a team around me. Pepper's teaches the business skills very well, and it's very entrepreneurial. So if there's a client that you're interested in trying to lead and own that relationship, you can really kind of build your own business within a business within the company. And that's something I took to heart. I had great mentors throughout that process, and really built my career and my portfolio in the downtown office. I moved to our suburban Barrington office for 5 years, and then it would have been the fall of 2005. Dave Pepper was the CEO then, and he had asked me if I'd be interested in leading a regional expansion office. And I had been familiar with some of the strategic planning work enough to know that we had narrowed down the kind of the regions to Madison, Wisconsin, St. Louis, or Columbus or Cleveland, Ohio. And it was obviously it was something I'd worked for in my whole career, 15 years with the company. It's something that I was very excited to be asked, and honored to be asked, for one, and just super excited about the opportunity, and look forward to learning more about it. And but really, they had already kind of made up their mind that it was going to be Ohio. Sure. They weren't sure if it was Columbus or Cleveland. Madison was attractive to my wife and I because it was a little closer to home where we grew up. But so my wife and I, at that time, we had 4 kids. They were all, we were high school sweethearts, grew up in the same hometown, went to Iowa State together, married before I graduated. And so we have 4 kids. And so it was not an easy decision to move. We were pretty implanted in the Chicago suburbs. The kids were at that time between the ages of 13 and 7. So it was a big decision and knew it was going to be a difficult move for the family at that time in their lives. But honestly, we never even visited Columbus before we said we would do it, that we took the opportunity to make the move and start this business in Ohio for the peppers. And I guess that I tell that because it really reinforces the trust and confidence that I had in Dave Pepper, the CEO at the time, and really the whole family. Pepper's still family, 100% family owned and operated, and leadership is family. And just I had so much confidence and trust that they were going to support this effort and to the time it was going to take to build a new business in a region that we had done some work but had really no client base.
Sure.
So my wife and I, she was excited, obviously, for the opportunity. She knew that's what I had been working for all during that, time of my career, first 15 years. So we said yes, and we.
And you're still
was
standing today in
still
Columbus.
standing
Proud,
today.
right?
Yeah,
I've
we've
been
grown
I've been in the I've been in the Pepper, the building in Chicago with the big P on the side of it.
Yeah,
I've been there multiple times over my years, so I
yeah,
know.
that's where I started my career, fourth
Yeah,
floor.
yeah. And listen, picking in Columbus, it's smack dab in the middle of Ohio. You got Cleveland, you got Toledo, you got Cincy.
Yep,
I mean, you got it's just smack dab in the middle of everything. And and Columbus is known as a retail mecca, for a lot of brands that are there. And
yep,
so a good place to be. We were talking earlier. My parents, my mom was remarried, and my stepdad, he was in retail in Dayton, and uh, so very in-laws were in Columbus. So done the trek plenty of times, on I-70 from Dayton or up 71. So lived in Cincy, and it's Ohio's. I can think of what other places where I wouldn't want to be, but a
yeah,
little cold in the winter, but
right,
everything's in with driving distance. It's an amazing state, and
yeah,
listen,
yeah. It's been a.
I go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It's been a great move for my family, and the business has done well. We've grown to over 200 people and 500 million in revenue in Ohio, and been here 18 years now. So we're definitely part of the community now, and we expanded our office to Cincinnati, opened an office in Cincinnati in 2009. So yeah, it's been looking back, there were a lot of tough years. A lot of we opened the office really in the end of '06, and then the Great Recession of '08 and '09 was not in the original 5-year plan. I mean, that certainly was a setback. But again, to the credit of the Peppers and specifically to Dave, the this was always a long-term play, and
Yeah. Hmm.
that's the only commitment that I needed from him, because I didn't want to uproot my family only to have to do it again in a few years if we didn't, this wasn't successful. So I had the vote of confidence.
As whether you're a contractor, an architecture firm, engineering, opening offices is crucial, even though, because it's much easier to have an office in an area that you're not in than it is going in. Pepper's a, top ENR contractor and been around forever, and just a powerhouse gig. But much, there's so many contractors that I've seen. I've been around 25 years. Is that right? Yeah, 25. And well, everybody that I've seen, that they used to be regional, they'd have their, footings and whatever's, geographically, but then they would open up. And now over the years, I've just seen, they have
Yeah.
offices here, they have, but it's just amazing. And I come from construction. My family's been in construction since 1888. And
Oh,
just like you, I grew up down at the scrapyard, and all the grandsons, and we all got our licenses. I grew up outside of Philadelphia in a place called Pottstown. Anyway, all when you got your license at 16, you had to go and work in the scrapyard. And my first superintendent was my uncle Frank Schuler, may rest in peace. But he's one tough SOB. If you were like a
yeah.
second late, if you weren't there at 7 o'clock in the morning, ready to go, man, with your acetylene torch, my grandfather was going to hear it. And my grandfather was a combat engineer in World War II underneath
Oh,
Patton.
wow.
So he rebuilt all of the
Wow.
bridges at the Allies and the rebuilding of Europe. And so construction, it's crazy when you look back at your life of all the things that you did. I mean, I'm actually a builder. I build a magazine every month. I used to do it with
Right.
paper, ink, and content. Now I do it digitally, and but I build something every month, and I don't get I have fun just like you. You knew when you saw that project being built, Kraus Anderson, another powerhouse up there in the
Yeah.
Midwest,
Yep.
Minneapolis. Know that I know them all. Been around,
Yeah.
but seeing that and you just know what you're going to do. And here you are
Yeah.
32 years later, you built your branch there in Ohio.
Yeah.
And you can say, I built that,
Yes.
not only built
Yeah.
that, but I built this
Right.
going into not even knowing being in Columbus, that's a
Right.
scary thing to go do. Uproot the family and, hey kids, we're going to go to Columbus, you're going to become a Buckeye, or
Some of us have.
yeah, and Iowa State, all I think of is wrestling, is
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, there's good wrestling school. Hey, we're 7-0 in football though, so it's
yeah, yeah,
off to a
yeah,
great
yeah,
start.
yeah. Oh yeah,
Uh,
I went to University of Denver. I was a hockey lacrosse player. We didn't have a football team, so I had to go to Boulder and watch CU play. But
yeah,
I get it,
we're back in the conference this year, the
Yeah,
Buffaloes.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So
So yeah, I did want to. I do the. I got to give a shout out to Iowa State because the construction engineering department there. I mean, I guess like I said, I talk about the family values and the work ethic that my parents instilled. Certainly, are a big part of my, um, successes that I've had in my business career. But the construction engineering program at Iowa State is, I don't. It's pretty widely known, but it is a top-notch program, and it did so much for me from, not just the technical training which I needed, and that was all very good, but what that there's big student chapters there, specific their AGC student chapter that does major volunteer work every year. They do, fall break, they take a trip. Usually, I'm sure they probably went to Asheville or somewhere this year. They're over the hurricane
mhm.
relief. They do those types of things every year on fall break and spring break, and it's just gotten bigger. It's kind of was getting some momentum when I was there. The community service projects, and just proud to be an alum of the department, and I was on the advisory council there for 17 years. Since I graduated, I had to step off 2 years ago, but I take great pride in giving back because I believe in the program, and I see the students that come out of there. We still hire a lot from there for our Chicago office, and I know they do well in preparing the students for success in our industry. So wanted to give some props to that because it certainly is part of what's instilled values and my learning in me to help me be successful. And my wife and I set up a scholarship in Dave and Katie Pepper's name at Iowa State, that they were both alumni of Iowa State as well. So we started that 3 or 4 years ago. So that's starting to give gifts. So that's exciting for me to see as well. So, and I guess the last thing I would a little bit more about Ohio. So like I said, we decided to make this move without ever visiting Columbus. I do have a cousin that lives here. One of the benefits of being from a huge family, I have cousins
Yeah,
everywhere. So
sure.
I did make a call to Mike and ask him about Columbus. So it's a Midwest city. It's like Iowa. You'll like, friendly people. It'll be great. So we decided to make the move and moved out in the summer of '06. And it's been had some tough times, but some great times. Honestly, there's nothing in my professional career that I'm more proud of be able to see what we've built here in 18 years. And really, like I said, we had done some projects here for clients that had asked us to travel here in the past, but we really had no brand recognition. We had no client base in Columbus or Cincinnati when we started here. So, and I've had great support from the company and the family throughout all
I
of
just
it.
think of Ohio whenever I go home, or yeah, I'll do it during the summer. But there's always orange barrels up on the highway. They're always
Yeah,
doing construction in Ohio. I don't care
yeah,
where it is. It's Cincy, Columbus, Cleveland, Toledo. It's endless. Maybe one of these days they'll get it finished, but it's all progress. Like I said, I've
yeah,
I've seen Columbus grown, and
yes,
I know they just redid the airport and the parking, and all that, and it was just a little
yeah,
dinky airport. Now
yeah,
they've done good job just in general. Plus they've got OSU there, so it
yeah.
it's a college town, and just in general, the state's awesome. It's
It
really
is great.
great,
Yeah, it's
so,
been
and
great,
yeah.
great for business. And you talked about the regional expansion. So yeah, Pepper obviously a headquarters is Chicago. That's family roots, but we're now in Milwaukee, Indianapolis, Columbus, and Cincinnati. And yeah, in the last 4 years, nothing has spoke louder about the importance of regional diversity than our business results. And Indiana and Ohio have really been booming, and that's been great for the organization. Whereas some of it's a little tougher in Illinois and Chicago the past few years. So it's that regional diversity is really has paid off for the company, and we're glad to be able to capitalize on it.
When you were talking about, you started in '06, and, '08 was the crash. And, I started my company in 2001, right after 9/11. And you
Oh,
just, there's no better time than the present. And everybody, all the poo-pooers, don't do it, this and that. And then, when the opportunity knocks, you got to take it, because if you don't go for it, you'll regret it. You didn't take that chance, and you did it without even looking. Said, honey, we're going to Columbus, and we're taking the
yeah,
kids, and we're rock and roll, and here you are. But looking at, you started in '06, you built it '08, the crash happened, construction departments got whacked, at
yep,
all the brands, and but still business went on. This last time, that the roller coaster have been on the last 3 or 4 years, really no one really, some people said it was going to be a couple weeks, a couple months. Here we are 4 years later, and we're still talking about it. And talk about, since you went through both of them, that, the difference being that everything wasn't shut down in
yeah,
'08, '06 to '10, that I think it's '08, '10. Um, and the difference of, what you went through there in your basically your launch, and then you went through March of 2020, everything gets, kaput. And now, we're out of the tunnel, but there's still some speed bumps, and potholes, that hindrances, finding superintendents, project managers, and labor shortages, and all
yeah,
that kind of stuff. Talk about, maybe the similarities, but also the differences that your own company had to persevere,
yeah,
to make it through.
yeah. Great. That's a great topic. So yeah, we were very much in the initial startups phases in '08 and '09 when our markets that private commercial construction really took a big hit because of the stock market crash and all the things that were going on with lending. We do a lot of work for developers, so that obviously that was a time when money wasn't moving. People weren't lending money, so the work stopped. And fortunately, um, we hadn't grown too big yet, so we were still a small company here and pretty nimble. So we were able to, you know, go after some smaller jobs that we were able to win and be competitive on, and get our foot in the door with some clients. And now we didn't grow during that time, but we did not have to contract because we hadn't staffed up here locally yet. I would, yeah, that affected every market. I mean, what I remember of that, and what the Peppers went through across the organization at that time is it affected every vertical market. There didn't, whether it was retail or whether it was housing, whether it was office work, everything was slow during that time. I mean, the only thing that wasn't was when the government funding kicked in. But that affected every market, and it also um, affected every company. All the contractors were looking for work.
Oh
So
yeah. Hmm.
lots of layoffs. That was a tough time for the organization, but it's just a tough time for our industry. And a lot of people left the industry during that time and changed careers. So we're still fighting that now to get workers back and so but then the fast forward to 2020. So then we have been here in the market for 13 or 14 years, obviously much more established presence. We're starting to get some real traction with repeat clients and build a good brand. We're known for good work, quality work. We're going to do what we say we're going to do. That's always been, that's a staple of Richard
Sure.
Peppers, the second generation, but he really built the business, and he was active when I started in the business. So certainly he's the legacy that I remember, and so we were building that here, and you could feel that momentum. And then March of 2020 hits, and it was a nervous time for a while for the whole organization. I guess the biggest takeaway lessons learned from that was the importance of uh, collaboration as a company and the communication that we did for our people. Um, so the executive leaders across all the offices, we were on a call twice a day for an hour in the morning, an hour in the afternoon, sharing everything about what we were, some of us were closed down, some of us weren't, some opened sooner than others. We were in Illinois, Ohio, Indiana,
Oh yeah.
Wisconsin at the time. So they weren't all the same. Fortunately, construction wasn't shut down in those cities 100%. So we were able to keep working. But on the other side, we were doing town hall calls. Pepper was doing town hall calls every week. And then we were doing meeting company calls locally every week. So twice a week, we were talking to everybody in the organization.
Did you use Zoom before then or not?
We were not using Zoom before then.
Or
So that
Teams,
was,
whichever one was there,
yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we had Teams, but we weren't using it much.
Yeah.
So it was, thankfully we were set up, and we had, thanks to our IT team, working from home was fairly seamless, and we were able to be productive. And our message was, our job sites are open. So even though you're working from home, we expect you to get to the job site, be safe when you're out there, but get to the site, support our people that are working.
Yeah,
And
people don't realize that contractors they were all, listen, I look at them as they were first responders because they still
That's
had to
right.
go on
Yeah.
that, a
They were,
lot of the
deemed
projects.
essential.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
essential. You had to go on there, you had to put your mask on, get on the plane, do whatever you needed to do. And
Yeah.
it just here in Georgia, we really didn't close down, but
Right.
there were three or four projects. They were building a fire station, a retirement home. There was a craft brewery that they were doing, and what was the other one? But I watched them all go up, and I drive by and see what they were doing from a protection standpoint, and it was just I'll tell you, over the last 3 or 4 years of all the people that I've talked to, the most important thing that I think people took away from uh, March of 2020 till today was that they learned so much about their people,
Yep.
about their company, and that you have to be nimble and be able to turn on a dime, as well as trust your instinct and having that grounding, in your area, like regionally with your branches, it was crucial. And some of the firms that I've spoken to, even on the end user side, they had probably the best years of their business if they could have found more project managers or superintendents to
Yes.
get more done, but you
Right.
don't want to bite off more than you can chew because you don't want to
Right.
not be able to
Get the
deliver.
people. Yeah.
Exactly. It's all about the
Yeah.
people. And but that's the biggest thing that I think talking to people like yourself that went through it, that uh, you know, just having that conversation, having now Zoom's not going away.
No, right,
It's an awesome tool. Now instead of driving, let's say, okay, I've got, you have an office in Cincy, but maybe if you had to go to a project that was an hour and a half, 2 hours to look at something, you can look online and figure it out, and you can pick and
right.
choose where you need to go in person. I think that's the most important thing, that the takeaway from this kind of technology. But it was there before. It's like myself. I had a
Yes.
digital magazine forever. I just ignored it. I was
Right.
lucky as a publisher.
Right.
I didn't know I had all
You
this content,
could move
but
it quick.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I had it.
Pivot.
But it was scary. I mean,
Yes.
uh
Yeah. It was scary.
I was working out of my house, so it didn't really affect me, and I had to worry. I was kind of virtual, but I missed seeing my peeps out there, and I was a print face-to-face guy. So just like you, I as a business, I was fighting with my printer. I was like, look, half the offices I'm sending the magazine to are closed. People are furloughed.
Yeah.
So I fought him, and he's like, Dave, you've been a publisher forever. It's economies of scale. When the printer press is set up, it's just adding paper and ink. And uh, I said, okay, I bit the bullet, and I was bi-monthly at that time. And I just had my 10th anniversary event in January in Jacksonville. Most people I'd ever had attend my event. And um, we put that March, April issue out, and then I sat back, and I'd get up in the middle of the night. My wife would be like, where are you going? I'm like, I got to think. And my artist and my
Yeah.
editor were like, let's just go digital. We have all this content, blah, blah, blah. We'll go monthly. And what was funny is I had just bought my microphone for my podcast, and I was going to go out and do interviews on the construction sites when I was traveling. That was what I was going to do. So I just started doing. I didn't know what I was doing. I just winged it.
Yeah.
And I listen.
Yeah.
I look back at some of those videos that I did back there, and I was doing like, I was pounding them out, several a week. And I laugh at myself. But listen, if you're not making mistakes, you're not pushing hard enough, you're not
That's
learning.
right.
So
Yeah.
to me, it was, I always look at, you got to make a positive out of a negative.
Right.
And I mean, it was rough. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but a lot of companies had to do the same thing that I did. And the ones that turned quickly and believed in their people, even though if they had to work at home and trusted them, they found out the biggest thing, I think people found out there was more to life than just work, and that
Right.
work-life balance.
Yep.
And now it's, trying to keep your company culture, getting the people back in, or maybe it's only a couple days a week. Those kind of things as a branch manager, you know what I'm talking about. That, you know,
Yep. It's
how do you
balance.
maintain it and
Yeah.
not upset the apple cart? So,
Yeah.
but you're a warrior, from Iowa State. You went through the crash because that was
That's
heavy.
right.
You were in
Yeah.
construction. That was
It
brutal.
was heavy. Yeah. For
Here, it just
sure.
was like it was an unknown. You just didn't know.
Right.
And
Right. That's right.
but like I
Yeah. And
said, go ahead.
so I don't think so. Stan Pepper is our current CEO, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind me telling this, but it was our second town hall call in March of 22, so probably near the end of March. And I mean, people were scared at that time, just like what's going to happen. We didn't know, we weren't sure. And Stan got on that town, and we talked about it as a leadership group. And this is what he wanted to do, and he did it. He got on that call and he said, "We will have no layoffs during this." And that's a big. I mean, with all the unknowns, that was a bold statement, but it sent a message to our people about like, okay, we're a stable company, and we're going to be able to survive this. And we all know that it's not going to last forever. So we've got to have the right people when we come out of this to be able to capitalize on all the things that are going to happen. And, you know, I know that there's a little anxiety to say that, but it was the right thing to do. And I know our people heard it and appreciated it and what it meant to them. And yeah, we have great people, and what you said about like, the trust of them working from home. We got the work done. We still did it well. We supported the superintendents and the craft workers in the field to get the work done. And, what we have come from that is there is more flexibility for our people that I think is a good thing. And that's, that I think that's something that that's a positive takeaway from all that. So that was, like I said, that was a big statement on Stan's behalf, and it just really kind of set the tone for us, and that we were marching forward through that. And you talk about the differences. So it wasn't probably a month after all, the start of it, we were getting calls. So this is a heavy distribution market, right? Columbus is logistics hub. So is
Sure.
Indianapolis. Both Indianapolis and our office, we do a ton of warehouse distribution work. We were doing a big last mile facility for Amazon at that time. Wasn't too far after that, we were getting calls like, how can you build it faster? Tell me how much it's going to cost to be done a month early. So it was a whole different dynamic than what was happening in Chicago and Illinois, where some of the jobs weren't reopening. Again, that the communication, we had some staff that was able to come out from Illinois to help us on our jobs because we had staffing needs and we had to ramp up faster. We had to work 2 shifts on some of these jobs to get them done quicker. So all in all, I will tell you from our standpoint, that period is when our business grew 2 or 3-fold coming out of that. 21, 22, 23 has been the best years that we've had at Pepper, Ohio, and same with Indiana. So, capitalize and be ready, have the foundation set to capitalize on it. And, we've continued to grow our business from there. So.
Hey, like I said, I have so many conversations with people over the last 3 to 4 years that they've all said, "Hey, we just kicked tail and a little scary and with the unknown, but you just got to put the blinders on and move on." And I'm going to tell you, growing up on the farm, you were prepared to go through not only when you launched it when the economy fell off the cliff, but here when the economy basically closed down,
Right.
and being, a lot of brothers and sisters and working on the farm and all that whole thing shaped you. So you were a warrior prepared to go through all of that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I was a hockey lacrosse player. I mean, I look back at all the stuff that I did and, uh, it shapes you. You take little bits and pieces of things. So when things happen that you can make it through, some days, but you gotta have that mindset to keep going forward. And I kudos to that you were able to weather those 2 storms and then take what you learned and then improve your business. And like you said, you had phenomenal years over the last couple of years. So congratulations. That's awesome.
And I just get a lot of credit to the leadership of the organization and the families, the Pepper family, for kind of having that. It's always been a long-term play for them. Obviously, they've been in business since 1927, so none of these decisions are made on short term, right? Yeah. So, and I guess just a couple of, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the importance of mentors. That's one of my biggest takeaways and lessons learned that I'd share with some of our young people as as they're asking me about my career and growth in the industry. I've been blessed to have a lot of great mentors in my time at Pepper, both inside the company and out. And I try to do the same for people that are interested in having those conversations and make sure I take time for that. But my advice would be is you got to own that, because the mentorships that I had, I created, right? I mean, I wanted to get to know Jim better and how he got to where he was at in his career, or Ken and Mike and Bill. And so I spent time with them. I was the one that was setting up the breakfast, setting up the lunch, making sure. And came with some thoughts, questions. Hey, here's a situation. How would you handle it? And I just, to me, that was how I learned a lot. And I learned about leadership and different styles. And then I can use that to make it my own. And I just think, and now being a mentor to people when they ask, and we've got some leadership programs where there's a more formal mentor protege. I enjoy that part a lot, because I feel like I've been blessed to have a lot of great mentors in my life.
So as we finish Q4 and we're going into Q5, the election is next week. Thank God, because I'm in a swing state and I am just getting
Yeah,
bombarded on my phone, my
yeah,
email, my PO box, my mailbox every day. I got more stuff going. I've already voted. I'm done. So listen, if you're out there and you haven't voted, vote. Gotta vote. I don't care who you vote for. You gotta vote. Okay, and let the chips fall where they may. And but as we finish up Q4 and we go into 2025, give us your thoughts, of where you think the industry is going to go.
yeah. I'm still very optimistic about the industry. I think we have obviously it's been we have great momentum since 2020. Things have been really good in our industry. I think across all markets and regions. It has slowed a little bit in this last half of 24, but that's to be expected. It normally happens in an election year. Things kind of settle down and wait and see. But yeah, regardless of the outcome of that, I think the economy's in good shape. We have been able to attract more people to the workforce, which has been good. We've still got to work on that challenge, but I'm optimistic about 25 and 26. I feel like we've got great potential for growth and to take more market share in some markets that we haven't tapped in yet in this region, and I'm excited to continue to grow because we've built a great strong foundation of a team, and I want to continue to grow off that. So
what's one of your favorite projects that you did out of your branch since you opened it?
yeah, I'd have to say it's actually one that we're working on right now. So we've got about a $35 million project at the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium here. We're renovating the North American region, which is the oldest part of the zoo and hasn't been updated for like 30 years. So it needs a refresh, but it's got new habitats for the Mexican wolves and the sea lions and songbirds. It's a very unique project. Obviously, working at a zoo is a whole brings a whole
Oh yeah.
public safety. But the reason why I'd say it's my favorite since that we've done here is when I see the passion of the team that is on that site that's working for us, our superintendent and our project management team. I mean, because they have young kids, so they're going to bring their kids to the zoo. They're going to get to tell them about the cool
Yeah,
stuff
I
that
designed that. I built
we're
that.
doing out there, and it's just, but that the client sees that, right? They like that team is asking questions of like, how can we make sure we do this so that that we don't affect the public and that you can still view the animals, and just to see the passion and the energy that it gives my team, and how proud they are of the work we're doing. And I know they're just going to be so proud to be able to take their kids there to a grand opening and show them what they did. Those are the kind of things that I really enjoy seeing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I've been to the Columbus Zoo.
Yeah, it's a
I've been
great
to it.
zoo. It's one of the
It's been a
best.
while, but like I said, I'm very familiar with that whole area. So,
Yeah, it's one of the
um,
best.
So listen, if you're out there in commercial construction coffee talk and you're looking for, a top contractor and maybe you're looking, if you're an end user out there, maybe you're thinking about expanding in the Midwest, in this region, if someone wanted to reach out to you and just bounce some questions off you or talk about the zoo project, et cetera, how would someone reach out to you?
Or my email is Francis, last name spelled Francois at pepperconstruction.com.
There you go. So listen, if you're out there and maybe you just want to talk Iowa State, I don't know, but if you
Oh
just
yeah,
want,
I'm all
I'm
for
sure
that.
I'm sure Mr. Paul here is going to talk Iowa State with you, okay?
Yes, I will.
Or Iowa Hawkeyes. I mean, come on, he's an Iowa guy. So
Yep.
but if you want to reach out, there's his contact info. And this is all about collaboration on this kind of stuff, putting people together, and you never know where your next connection is going to go. But what a great conversation,
Yeah, thank you.
you've gone through some stuff, but you kept positive and you persevered, and now you've done it. And like I said, moving with 4 kids without going into a city, even though you had a cousin there, that was probably one of the
Yeah.
toughest things in my
No, it was.
hearing your story, and
Definitely
I've heard a
was.
lot of stories. that is that's scary,
Yeah,
but like I said, the farm life that prepared you for it. And
definitely.
that's
Yeah.
just what a really, really good story. And
Thank you.
so
I enjoyed
if
telling
anybody
it.
wants to reach me, you can get me at davidc@ccr-mag.com. And listen, the publicist sent me reached out to me. They sent me a thing. I knew about Pepper and this and that. And I was like, oh, yeah, man, we'd love to have him on here. So,
Great.
listen, we love getting stuff. Don't judge a book by its cover. We post stuff all day long. Very tough to get in the magazine, but we post content all day long. You can send me an anniversary, a project profile, a new hire, a charity golf tournament. Maybe you're doing a thing on mentorship. But what we look at everything and send it to us. Our TAT, our turnaround times, 24, 48 hours. We post it, we index it, we do all the stuff that you need for Google to find it. And then we send the URL, you share it. So it's good for your SEO, search engine optimization. That's how Google finds you. And so it's a win-win. And it's like the lottery. If you don't buy a ticket, you can't win. If you don't send me something, I can't look at it. And believe me, I'm data addicted. I look at everything, and I answer all my emails. I might be a little tired, but I get to them. And and like I said, we're just content creators, and we want to look at all that stuff. So as we finish up here, if there was one positive thought or phrase and that you want to leave with our listeners, what would it be?
Yeah, mine's going to be around leadership. 'Cause like I said, I've had some great mentors in my career that have really helped shape who I am and as a business leader. So mine is that leaders are defined by the success of their teams. That's my positive quote. So my approach has always been focus on the growth of our team members and their, and the culture that you're building around that team. Really empowering them and creating a more inclusive environment that supports their growth, because I felt like I've been given those opportunities during my career. So that's my positive thought for today.
And there is no I in team, okay?
That's right.
And you have to have people to get stuff done. If you
Yep.
can't do it all yourself. There's only so many seconds in a day, and if you don't hire people and believe in them, you're not going to move forward. That's just the reality of it. So I love that stuff. So as we finish
Thank you.
up, couple things. Number one, if you're on a construction site, we want you to be safe so you can get home, have some dinner with your spouse, your hubby, your wife, your kids, your pets, whatever, and be able to get up and do it the next day. Number two, even though old man winter's coming in, you got to stay hydrated. This is the athlete. When you get hydrated on the field, you get headaches, you make the lousy pass, you get hurt. Same thing on the construction site. Even though the heat's gone, you got to stay liquefied. So make sure you put some electrolytes in your water bottle or whatever. Keep yourself liquefied and make sure you stay hydrated. So important. Last but not least, hit that button. We want the like button hit. And so the algorithms can find this episode about Pepper and Paul in Columbus. And we'd appreciate it. So what an awesome story.
Thank you.
And I'm glad that, like I said, when I saw Pepper, I was like, oh yeah, man, I that was like my first hurrah. And I didn't even know what ICSC I think was when I went out to that.
Yep.
I got on and but if I get up to Columbus, I'm gonna look you up. I'd love to go see.
Great.
When is your zoo project finished? When's it?
Next Memorial Day,
Oh,
May
okay,
of
cool.
25.
Yeah,
Yep. So we'll
25.
be working there for a while.
All
Yep.
right.
And
Well, if I come up there,
hopefully
I'm
after.
I'm gonna look you up and
All right.
go look at some stuff around Columbus and
Sounds good.
uh,
I'd love to
and
have you.
yeah, absolutely. I always make it kind of a weekend thing. I'll come up and I'll drive over to Dayton and see my mom and see some of my in-laws and so forth. And so
Nice.
but I do it during the summer. Don't do it in the winter. Do it
Yeah,
during the
right.
summer. I hate to
Good
say it
idea.
like that, but that's just the reality of it. So
By the
uh,
way, they're still working on all the roads, so
yeah, I
that
know
won't
the
be any
orange
different.
barrels are waiting for me. Hey, David,
Yeah,
we
they
missed
are.
you. Where you been? You know?
They are.
So everybody, listen. It's Thursday. You got TGIF tomorrow. You got Halloween tonight, and you got the election on Tuesday. Everybody enjoy it, and thank God it's going to be over. And
Yeah.
let the chips fall in May, and then you got Thanksgiving, and then the holidays, and boom, 2024 is going to be over. Put it in the books in 2025. It's been an amazing year. It just feels like it was January 1st yesterday, and I can't believe it's going to be November here and the second month in Q4. But you know what? as long as you're having fun, that's just, the way that I look at it. And every day I learn something new. And look, we had a great conversation. Thoroughly enjoyed
Yeah,
it. And
me
so
too.
everybody, listen, have a great rest of your Thursday. And remember, like I said, if you haven't voted, if you can still early vote, do it so you don't have to stay in a line on Tuesday. But if not, make sure you do it. And whatever happens, happens. We're all gonna live. The sun's gonna come up the next day, and I just don't. Some things are out of your control, but you got to do your civic duty. You got to vote. So that's all I'm going to say on that. And everybody out there, we will see you next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. And Paul, I look forward to meeting you in person. All right. I really appreciated the conversation. All right.
I enjoyed it. Thanks, David.
Say goodbye from Columbus.
Bye, everybody.
And I'm going to say goodbye from Sugar Hill, just below the Buford Dam, about 30 miles now, north of downtown ATL. And we will see you next time. Cheers, everybody. See you.